Hi everyone, it's your host, Pam Spaccaratella, and welcome to the first episode of Driver Stories. How exciting! We've been working on this idea to make a podcast for a few months now, and it's finally here. For our first episode, I really wanted to get the perspective of the trucking industry from one of our millennial truck drivers. So I brought in Brian Jonestrong. Today, Brian is going to talk to us a little about his first trucks, how he got into the trucking industry, and just some of his experiences in his first years as a driver. So, here we go. Good morning. Good morning, Brian.
How's it going, Pam?
Good morning, everyone. This morning I have with me Brian Jonestrong. He is a driver here locally in Omaha, Nebraska, and has been with us for several years now, driving mostly for CO2 for Council Bluffs and Adams.
Yes, ma'am.
So we're welcoming Brian this morning. I thought I would take the opportunity this morning to talk to Brian. He's one of our millennial drivers. So I thought it was kind of interesting or important to talk to him about what makes a millennial want to be a truck driver. So that's my first question for you this morning. Why did you become a truck driver?
Well, it all started when I was a kid. There was this movie called Black Dog. It had Patrick Swayze in it, and he was a truck driver. And so, it's kind of like the action life of a truck driver, even though, some of it's maybe not portrayed as true. But I always thought semis were cool. And, my grandpa always hung out at Sapp's truck stop in Council Bluffs, so we just hang out there, and I figured out what trucks were what, brand-wise, and name them off like that, and he was always pretty impressed about that. And then, after that, I never thought about trucking, but then when I, was like 20 years old, I ended up getting a job for the state of Nebraska, and they're like, can you get your CDL in 60 days? I'm like, I'll give her a go, and here I am.
Well, that's cool. So did you go to truck driving school?
No, it was pretty much like, hey, go take a test, and then we're going to let you drive a truck like 4 times, weeks apart, and then you just kind of got to wing it. So I didn't really get formal training as, some people would get where they're driving a truck every day with someone telling them everything they need to do. It was just kind of like, hey, you got to kind of go do this on your own written-wise, and then we're going to only have a truck when we can get it for you to drive, and I'd only drive it for like an hour. And then we just kind of have to try and remember that. And then the day of the test, they're like, okay, we're going to go over your pre-trip now. I'm like, cool. So I made it through, even though I felt like I was kind of set up for failure, but I made it happen.
Well, that's interesting. So what was the first truck you drove?
Well, for counting the first job there at the state, it was like a old, like 97 Freightliner. I can't remember exactly what, the sub-brand of it would be. But otherwise, I'd say the first truck I drove a lot it was like a Western Star day cab hauling like a van trailer up to Cedar Rapids and come back and stuff. And then after that, it's like moved on to a Kenworth T880 and then like an old International hauling milk. And then here I am driving Peterbilt 579s.
Okay, so you got into trucking because it looked cool. And you got the opportunity when you were in the state. So what got you into cryogenics? How did you find out about LGT?
I saw the ad on Indeed, and, I never even thought about cryogenics being a thing in the world. It's like things you don't ever hear about, so you don't even remember that they exist. So I saw that, and then, I thought that was like something very interesting that you don't really see a lot, so it's kind of like a niche thing. And, the one thing I did like about the ad from LGT was that they were, straightforward about what it paid. It wasn't like you got to apply, then they tell you what it pays, or you got to call or something like that. So the straightforwardness of it all was nice, and I just figured cryogenics would be kind of a cool industry to get into.
What do your friends think about you being a truck driver?
Well, I don't have a lot of friends, but...
Is that because you're a truck driver?
I don't know. It's been complicated in my life. I'm like, what? I talk to everybody, but ain't no one trying to hang out, So, my family, I don't know. They don't say much about it. I mean, me and my brother are like the only ones that drive truck, but he was kind of like later into getting it. because he just got his Class A or whatever. He had his Class B for a while, but my grandpa was a big supporter of it. He knew I liked semis and everything like that, so he thought it was cool, and he would call me like every day, wondering where I was going and stuff like that.
So what do you think is the best thing about being a truck driver?
Being able to kind of see new areas and things like that, and I don't know, there's like nothing better than hearing the engine kind of roar and just shifting through the gears and having the music blasting and, just going at it.
Yeah. What's the worst thing about being a truck driver?
It'd be all the other drivers on the road. They just like to cut you off or speed around you and slam on your brakes or, ride on your tail end and, or the DOT, just harassing you for no reason. It's like, what? I don't have a trailer. Still going to pull you in and weigh you. It's like, man, it's like making my day go slower,
Okay. Is there a story that you have about your career as a truck driver that stands out? Something that happened to you that you'll never forget?
Well, it's kind of a sad story. So I was here being trained, and I was with Steve Myers, you know him, and we were coming back from Schuyler, and we witnessed a car accident where a mother and her 3 children died, and then there was a guy that was like trapped in his vehicle, rolled over, trying to get out, and so we had to kind of witness the investigation and everything like that for like 5 hours. So that, and just sometimes you drive past other car accidents, like over here on I-80 one night, there was a guy who decided to walk in front of a semi going down the interstate, and you're driving by and you see a white rag with red all over it, or white blanket, I guess. So yeah, you see a lot of kind of sad stuff like that out there.
I remember that night. I remember you and Steve Myers calling me and describing for me what had happened. In that accident, it was a terrible accident in which a mother and 3 children were killed in a head-on collision, and you were the first responders. And I think it's important to take a moment to recognize the negative things that happen to truck drivers on the road, the things that they experience that the rest of us that sit in an office don't necessarily see every day. It's interesting that 30% of the truck drivers in the U.S. will actually be involved in a catastrophic accident like that at some point during their career. And what's even more significant, it's the first accident, the one that you experienced, Brian, that is the most significant. We as citizens, as truck drivers, as trucking companies, we need to understand how traumatic an event like that can be. We need to help the driver through it. We need to make sure the driver's okay. We need to get them the help that they need. Maybe they need time off. Maybe they need to talk to somebody about it. But we shouldn't sweep it under the rug. So I appreciate, Brian, you sharing that story with us. I think it's really something that we need to talk more about.
Are you ready to take your driving career to the next level? Does making more money and extra benefits with a company that treats you with respect sound good? Well, look no further. LGT Transport is where you want to go. LGT specializes in transporting tanker-specific materials, including cryogenic liquids, carbon dioxide, specialty gases, anhydrous ammonia, and liquid propane. From transporting liquid nitrogen to support NASA's Artemis program to bring humanity to the moon, to supplying hospitals with pure oxygen that saves lives, we haul it all. Does that sound like something you want to be a part of? LGT is hiring coast to coast, looking for over-the-road drivers, local drivers, and teams. Take the leap and let's move forward together. Apply now at lgtransport.avatarfleet.com/jobs or learn more at www.lgttransport.com.
So looking back on your career, it's been short, right? How many years have you been a truck driver now?
I think it's like 6. I just got my CDL before I was 21, so I can only do intrastate, and then a couple months after that it was interstate. But yeah, I've just kind of done a little bit of everything in the 6 years I've been doing it. But I'm sure some old timers would be like, "You ain't been around that long. I've been doing this 35 years," So like, "You're still a rookie." I'm like, "Oh, come on, give me a break."
Okay, so how would you, if you were looking for a driving position, what would you look for in a company? What do you like best? I guess the question really is, what do you like best about LGT? And let's start with that one. Sorry, what do you like best about LGT?
I would say just the fact that it doesn't have like a corporate feel. The setup of it is that, you're the owner and you have like an open door policy. So it's like, if I want to talk to the owner who is in charge of everything and can make all the decisions, I can just walk in there or shoot you an email or just, call the office and get on call with you and go through maybe what issues I have or, find out anything like that or discuss anything. And then on top of that, the equipment's nice.
Do you like the variety of work? Because
Yeah.
you often do different things. Sometimes you do CO2, sometimes you help out with the cylinders, and sometimes you're doing things for air gas up there in Minnesota.
Yeah, I said that air gas thing just started a little while ago. I know it started out of Ankeny, so like when it came to compressed nitrogen, I was like, well, I've heard of nitrogen, but I said I wasn't sure if there was like a compressed side of it, because I know nitrogen kind of tends to have like a lower PSI than CO2, so I thought that was kind of cool. And then, the work out of Roseville started coming out and going to all kinds of different places like Wisconsin or going to like Dubuque, Iowa and stuff like that. And then, like you said, the cylinders were like Praxair, what I first started out doing, that was enjoyable. And then, I've helped like Matheson do cylinders and go into different places and, Reliant out of Sergeant Bluff doing CO2 for them. And it's just crazy how you can do like the same gas or type of work, but at each place it's like a little different. So it kind of, keeps you on your toes.
Yeah. So when you're in the truck by yourself and you're driving down the road, is there anything that you think about? I mean, do you listen to podcasts? What do you do when you're driving?
Usually it'll be like blaring music super loud and then acting like I can sing. But I have been getting into podcasts lately. I've been listening to this one podcast called Two Bears, One Cave. It's just like two comedians that just are best friends, I guess, and just go at it. So that gives me a pretty good laugh. But for the most part, it's music. But sometimes I just feel like I'd rather hear people talk, I guess.
I guess my last question for you would be, if you were talking to a young kid that's in high school and trying to figure out what they want to do with their life, would you recommend trucking, and if so, why?
I'd recommend trucking just because, one, if you want to find a career where you don't have to get a college degree that's like 4 to 8 years long to make good money, you can make $80,000 to over $100,000 driving a truck, and it's going to be tough sometimes depending on how you go about it. Like, the way I got my CDL isn't exactly like the normal way people go. A lot of people go to school or they'll get on at a mega carrier and they got to stay in a truck with someone for 6 weeks to get trained and let go on their own. But I'd say, if you're looking to see new things and kind of be part of the country moving things and keeping the economy going and things running and getting people the products they need, then, it's a good career to go to, that's for sure.
Looking to do something different? Looking to get in the office someday? Looking to be...
probably when I get closer to, like, having kids, getting kind of like working in the office would kind of be cool, when it comes to, like, hour-wise. Because I know my girlfriend's trying to become a nurse, so it's like, if she's working 12s and I'm working 12s, it's like, that doesn't really match up well to have a kid, especially if you're, like, trying to stick them in a daycare and, so if, like, she's getting off at 7 and I'm getting off at 10 o'clock at night, it's like... trying to find someone, I guess, watch that kid would be kind of difficult. But that's years down the road. Yeah. I'm not really a fan of kids to begin with, but I don't know if we're even recording now still. But
yes, but they'll edit. So, that's a really actually great question, because most of your peers, if they're working in an office, they're working 8 to 5, right? And a truck driver's job is not that way, So oftentimes you're working 10, 12-hour days, and it's their expectation. It's like there's no gratitude for that. I mean, sometimes I'm amazed. If you think about it, you work 70 hours in an 8-day period. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like way more than the average person would work. A lot of people complain, oh, I had to work 40 hours this week. It's like, wow. It's like, good for you. It's like, I'm out here working like 70, and, it's crazy because a lot of people don't appreciate truckers. They just think we're these big, trucks on the road getting in their way, slowing them down, or the stereotypical thinking we're like dirty or whatever. But it's like, I'm 26 years old, I'm a younger guy, and I'm a clean dude. I'm not like having trash all over my truck or anything like that. And I'm a respectable dude. I don't treat people bad like some people might. But there's a lot of things I've missed, whether it's people wanting to hang out or wanting to go to dinner with family or friends or anything like that. It's like, well, I'm working, I can't, so it's just things you got to sacrifice to, pursue the career that you want to do and experience the things you want to experience, but at the same time also, making good money. So, that's one of the biggest things that matters to a lot of people nowadays, is trying to make as much money as you can, just because life is expensive and it's getting more expensive. So, you got to sacrifice things in your life to make that money and have the things you want.
Yeah, well, from all of us, we appreciate the time that you put into your job and the hard work that you do. So it's often understated. You guys you and everyone else works very hard and work a lot of hours to make a living, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So that's it for this morning. We'll give a big thank you to Brian Jonestrong, and are grateful that he had to spend a few minutes with us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay. New episodes of Driver Stories will be uploaded every month, so if you like this episode, please make sure to rate and download the show. You can find the show anywhere that you get your podcasts, like Amazon, Spotify, and Apple. Also, make sure to follow us on our social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and new content is posted daily, so go like and share our content. We are also on YouTube, where we post maintenance videos, Q&As, and other content like that, so go like and subscribe to our channel. If you'd like to learn more about LGT, or even myself, you can leave us a message at www.lgttransport.com. That's all for this episode, and thanks again, Brian, for joining us. Our next episode will air later this month, so make sure you tune in and listen, and have a great day.